Terrifying secrets revealed, the sinister unexplained events that haunted humanity for 10 days. The suburban streets of Toledo, Ohio, were once a symbol of safety. Now, a shadow loomed, a force creeping through the cracks of everyday life, clawing at the very fabric of a quaint neighborhood. For Sarah, a struggling single mother, every whispered breeze sent a chill racing down her spine. Alone at the diner after hours, long shifts turned into desperate prayers for a better tomorrow, but dread settled in as she found it harder and harder to keep the weight of her world off her shoulders. On a night like any other, after a seemingly normal shift filled with the clatter of dishes and the hum of conversation, her phone rang. It was Mrs. Jenkins, her elderly neighbor, voice trembling, breathless. "Sarah. You must come." Strange sounds, the lights, they flicker. I panic rippling through the spine of a once tranquil home. But it was late, and exhaustion gnawed at her resolve. Perhaps it was just old pipes. She dismissed the call and tucked Noah and Emma into bed, shadows dancing across their small faces, oblivious to the rising tension outside, yet the following days only fueled Sarah's growing unease. Flickering lights morphed into hauntingly familiar whispers, echoing through the house, slithering into the corners of her mind. Emma and Noah began to complain of whispers, calling them funny voices that lurked around their beds at night, cold breaths playing with their dreams. Under the fluorescence of the kitchen light, dread turned to panic. Shadows stretched and twisted as if alive, sending goosebumps skittering over her skin. On the 7th night, in desperate pursuit of answers, Sarah found herself climbing the creaky attic stairs, a realm of dust and forgotten memories. Among tangled strings of spider silk and old boxes, a journal lay, pages yellowed. As she opened it, ice sliced through her veins. Entry after entry revealed horrific occurrences, disappearances, violent unrest, and the ominous figure of the guardian. A protector? Or a monster? The line blurred as dread enveloped her like a suffocating blanket. She clutched the diary, her heart racing. She thought of the neighborhood leader, the charity giver, with a polished smile. They had all loved him. But now, with the weight of these words pressing down on her, she felt the air shift. Doubt gnawed at her as she grappled with the silence of the police, dismissing her fears as hysteria, the neighbors, terrified to even nod in acknowledgement. Isolation clawed at her, an animalistic panic clawing at her throat, the whispers turned into shouts, shrill voices tearing through the veil of night. Emma and Noah whimpered in their sleep, while something cold brushed against Sarah's cheek, making her freeze. How could she protect them against something that lived only in the shadows? The folklore whispered its secrets around her like a wild wind, lurking in every darkened corner, pulling her deeper into its grip. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. On the 10th day, the full moon had risen high, bathing the neighborhood in an eerie glow. A feeling clawed at her chest, realization of a lurking ritual hidden within the pages of that cursed journal, the final warning that those who unravel the truth will be silenced forever. The weight of dread suffocated her as she steeled herself, knowing she had to confront the sinister thread woven through her life. With her children sound asleep, she stepped into the chilling night, an icy breath wrapping around her, a harbinger of the horrors that awaited. A frigid wind howled through the trees, a stark reminder, she might not be alone. The streetlights flickered above, casting uneven pools of light on the cracked pavement as Sarah ventured outside. Each step felt like a drumbeat, echoing loudly in the silence of the night. The air was thick, heavy, pregnant with unspoken fears. Shadows swayed and curled, mimicking the way her heart raced. Clutching the journal tightly against her chest, she moved toward Mrs. Jenkins' house, her elderly neighbor's home now a beacon of mystery. Just as she reached the front porch, an agonizing wail pierced the night, tightening a vice around her throat. It was a sound of despair, raw and echoing. Fear washed over her, but instinct propelled her forward. As she knocked, the door swung open without a sound, revealing darkness inside. "Mrs. Jenkins?" Sarah called, her voice trembling. No answer. Just silence, thick and suffocating. She hesitated, but the wailing intensified, echoing in her ears like a death knell. Taking a deep breath, she stepped across the threshold. The air within was cooler, almost damp, sending a shiver down her spine. She called again, her voice quaking, "Mrs. Jenkins." Yet the only response was the faint whisper of someone else in the house. Heart pounding, she moved deeper into the shadows. A flicker of movement caught her eye, a shadow flitting across the dim light from the window. She hurried into the living room where the curtains billowed as if pushed by an unseen hand. The rocking chair creaked ostentatiously in the corner, but was empty. There was an envelope on the table. Cautiously, she approached, reaching out gingerly. Inside was a handwritten note, shaking from her anxious grasp. It read, "They come for you at night, the guardian sees all." A chill swept over her, a wave of understanding mixed with panic. Sarah had to get out. Just as she turned, the shadows twisted around her with a sickening violence. The howling wail erupted once more from somewhere deep within the house, merging with whispering voices that started to swell around her. "Run, run," they echoed, entangling her in a web of dread. She darted away from the dining table, heart racing, as the walls seemed to close in on her. Something cold swept past her again, brushing against her arm, and she barely stifled a scream. Racing through the doorway, she stumbled into the dim light again, but the flickering streetlights had turned blood red. The moon's glow shifted, revealing a figure standing at the edge of the property, tall and obscured, its features indistinct. Something deep inside stirred, it felt like recognition mixed with horror. As she ran back towards her home, breathless, the world twisted around her, reality warping under the weight of what she now understood. The guardian was real, and it was hunting her. At her house, she swung the door open, nearly falling as she stumbled inside. Emma and Noah were awake, eyes wide with fear. The frantic energies of the night pulsed through them. "Mommy, we heard the voices," they cried in chorus. Sarah's blood ran cold. She gathered them tightly in her arms, her heart a steady drum of terror. How could she protect them? Outside, the wind howled, carrying the curse of the neighborhood on its breath. Then came the thud, heavy, relentless, on her front door. Her heart stopped as she exchanged terrified glances with her children. "It's coming," she whispered, paralyzed by fear. But what she didn't know was that the door wouldn't hold for long. The thudding grew louder, each blow vibrating through Sarah's bones. She pressed her children tighter against her, wishing desperately she could shield them from whatever horror was knocking at their door. "Mommy, what is that?" Emma's voice trembled, her wide eyes reflecting raw fear. Noah clutched his sister's arm, fingernails digging into her skin. Sarah couldn't answer. Not now. All she could feel was the pulse of dread coursing through the house, an insistent reminder of the presence outside. She backed away slowly, guiding her children toward the living room. "Hush now," she whispered, trying to sound calming but knowing her voice was betraying her. "We need to find a way out." A crash splintered through the air, splintering the door's wooden frame and sending shards flying. The door jolted open, revealing not just darkness but something that slithered into the room, an inky shadow that seemed to breathe, expanding as it moved. "Hide!" Sarah yelled, her voice sharp as she pushed Emma and Noah into the closet beneath the stairs. They obeyed, the door shutting with a click. Heart thrumming wildly, Sarah turned to face the creaking door. The shadow coalesced slowly, forming into the vague shape of a figure. Deep, hollow eyes glowed with an unnatural light, and a mouth stretched into a grin that could freeze blood. It advanced, seeping across the floor like a thick fog. "Stay away from my kids," she shouted, breaking through the clutches of fear. The guardian had haunted the neighborhood, but she refused to become just another tale of despair. The darkness halted for a moment, as if pondering her words, before lunging toward her, she darted to the side, feeling the chill of its presence whip past her, slamming into the wall. The force of the impact rattled the glassware in the room, a whirlwind of sound that made her ears ring. "Why are you here?" she yelled, voice trembling but fierce, desperate to understand the monster that had come to claim her. "What do you want?" The darkness twisted, and for a fleeting moment, the figure of Mrs. Jenkins emerged within its depths. Pale, eyes wide with grief and despair. Then she dissolved back into the abyss. Sarah's breath hitched, understanding dawning like a brutal sunrise. "No, you took her. She's not yours." The guardian recoiled, recoiling as if stung, then with a deep roar, it lunged again. Sarah stumbled back, tripping over the coffee table, her heart racing in a frenzy. She had to think. She had to fight. The kids trembled in their hiding place, and the tiny closet became their sanctuary, a fragile bubble of safety against the overwhelming horror. Time clawed at her, seconds dragging as she rifled through her thoughts for a plan. Mrs. Jenkins had left that note, and maybe it held more than just a warning. It was a map, a key to her survival. "Listen!" Sarah shouted into the darkness, her voice breaking. "You can't have us. We don't belong to you." The room shook, the shadow swirling like a tempest, its whispers becoming a chorus of tortured souls. You are next, stop it!" she screamed, backing away into the kitchen. Suddenly her eyes fell on the old blender, half hidden behind an array of spices. It was a ridiculous choice, but a spark ignited in her mind. If the darkness fed off fear, she could turn the tide. Grabbing the blender, she rushed back into the living room, her heart pounding. "You want me? Then come and get me." As she plugged it in, the Guardian's form flickered, hesitating. She clicked the button and the whirring sound sliced through the thick tension in the air. "Look! I'm not scared of you," she hollered, voice echoing against the walls. "Come on." The darkness surged, collapsing into itself in a surge of rage, as if her bravery had provoked a beast too long restrained. Just then, there was a key sound, a knock on the window behind her, a gentle tap that belied the chaos. The figure stood still, a spiraling mass of shadow filled with tortured whispers. Sarah turned, her heart pounding double time as another interruption distracted her. What would happen if she faced this horror head on? She had to push through, she had to confront it. She stepped forward, calling out again, feeling the eyes of the Guardian burning into her back. But the moment she turned, the tap became a full, pounding, desperate sound. It was as if something was trying to find a way in, just as the Guardian was trying to devour. And then she heard the faint cries of her children. Sarah's heart dropped as she turned back toward her own children, the flicker of fear igniting into pure terror. The door was gone. The house was spinning into darkness, and outside the window, the night was alive with shadows. What would she do now? With nowhere left to run, "Mommy, please." Emma's voice was barely audible, yet it cut straight through Sarah's soul. The only way was forward, even if that meant looking deep into that unfathomable darkness. What awaited them on the other side? The pounding grew more frantic, drowning out the sounds of the swirling shadow. Sarah's eyes darted between the dark mass in the room and the window, where something unseen battled to break through. Fear snaked around her, tightening with every breath. "Mommy!" Noah's voice cracked, terror cracking the careful composure she had tried to maintain. What if the Guardian got to them first? What if they had no safety left? She fumbled for a weapon, her mind racing. The blender was a poor choice, but a choice she had made in desperation. Now, the energy of the moment pulled her, and she felt compelled to stand against the monstrous force looming before her. "Get away from my kids!" Sarah shouted, her tone fierce, fighting against the overwhelming fear. It felt like shouting at a tidal wave. The malevolent figure shivered, its features twisting in confusion, as if her words carried weight. It was just a moment, but she could see it hesitate. Maybe she needed to push harder. "Emma! Noah!" She shouted toward the closet, her voice rising through the din. Stay quiet. Don't let it hear you. As the whispers intensified, clawing at her sanity, she locked eyes with the black mess before her. What do you want from us? To take us, to? She yelled, her heart pounding like a war drum. The room shuddered, dark tendrils writhing in response to her questioning. We will not let you. From the shadows, racked sounds morphed groans echoed, each fragment stinging her. Voices overlapping, each filled with anguish, carried cries of hopelessness. We want to be free, what does that mean? She shouted back, feeling the tug of exhaustion clawing at her limbs. The whispering grew louder, the cacophony a chorus of lost souls filling the air. She had to do something and fast. With a deep breath to gather whatever strength was left, Sarah lunged forward, her feet carrying her unwillingly toward the window. She couldn't hear the kids anymore, the pounding and wails merging into one haunting melody of despair. She pressed against the glass, every fiber in her body screaming for her to turn back. But she couldn't turn. She was trapped in a nightmare that had only just begun. Mommy? Emma's voice was lost amidst the chaos. Each whisper taunted her, mocking her attempts to shield her children. The guardian surged suddenly more solid than before, stretching toward her with a malevolence that chilled Sarah to the core. Enough. She slammed her hand against the window, feeling vibrations resonate through the glass. You do not have the right. The shadows momentarily recoiled, as if her anger stung them. For just a heartbeat, she sensed something shift. A flicker of recognition passed through the void, an unmistakable desperation feeding upon her defiance. Then the world tilted that a shadowed hand shot through the opening she had created, an arm emerging from the blackness, reaching for her throat. Instinct kicked in, she slammed the window shut, locking it against the penetrating darkness. The shadows shrieked in outrage, scrambling at the barrier, clawing violently at a loud crack. The glass trembled. How do I stop you? Sarah's voice cracked, the weight of the threat closing in. She felt reality fraying around her, and the kitchen dim lights flickering in warning. What did it want? What sacrifice could she possibly give? Suddenly, Noah's whimper rose from the closet. Mommy! She spun around, running for the door, a wild terror pulling her along. As she raced back to the children, the warmth of the house turned frigid. The air weighed heavy with dread, her heart racing but adrenaline painting her senses. Slamming open the closet, the children huddled beneath the cobweb-laden space, their wide eyes filled with unspoken fears. We have to go. She gasped, tugging them toward the back door. But the shadows spun into a whirl of chaos, blocking her path, a thick wall of despair that pulsed like a living thing. With a swipe of an unseen force, she was thrown back against the wall, stars exploding in her vision. Run, Mommy! Emma screamed, her voice a desperate plea that pulled Sarah from the clutches of shock. The guardian hissed, a storm of anger swirling around. No! Sarah screamed back, forcing through pain and panic. Not today. The shadows whipped closer, wrapping around her. She wouldn't let them win, she wouldn't let her children slip through her fingers, but where could they escape to? Dark whispers morphed into haunting laughter, a tide pulling them under as her grip on the moment slipped. And at that instant, she realized they weren't just trying to take her. They were trying to claim all of them, what secrets lay in the dark. What waited for them once they crossed the threshold? Her heart pounded as the echoes of the night surged. She wouldn't let them take her. Not now. Not ever. The darkness was closing in. What would happen if they broke through? The shadows recoiled, trying to confine Sarah in an inescapable embrace, but her resolve flared brighter. She felt it pulsing through her veins, a fire igniting under the weight of despair. Get away from us, she shouted again, her voice demanding power it didn't possess but needed desperately. The guardian grew more corporeal, and dark tendrils writhed aggressively. It swelled like a storm cloud, angry and alive. The whispers crescendoed, a dissonant symphony filled with unearthly longing. Sarah stumbled back, her body pressed against the cold, hard wall. Noah. Emma. Stay close. The children clung to her legs, eyes wide, reflecting the chaos swirling around them. Sarah's heart raced, a drumbeat urging her to do something before it was too late. But what could she possibly do against this nightmare? Suddenly, in the corner of her eye, she spotted the kitchen knife resting on the counter. It was small and insignificant, yet it seemed to draw her closer, promising a slender hope. "I have to get that," she whispered more to herself than to the children, pushing through the suffocating darkness that bore down on her like a weight. She barked, "Stay here. I'll be right back." With each agonizing step, the shadows jerked and twisted, almost throwing her off balance, clawing at her with icy fingers of dread. It was a battle of wills, the guardian, an embodiment of terror fighting to snatch away her last sense of safety. The moment she reached for the knife, she froze. The moment felt suspended in time. The light from above flickered violently, illuminating the scene in brief, flickering bursts, dancing shadows that shaped into ghastly faces agonized and enraged. "Please, please," somewhere in the ether, a voice sobbed, a melting plea that rocketed through her mind with every pulse of the darkness. "Set us free." At that moment, clarity hit her like a punch. The guardian wasn't just a force of horror, it was the keeper of something more terrible. These shadows contained souls lost, unable to escape their torment. But to help them meant lifting their sorrow onto herself, a weight so unbearable it could crush her spirit. "No. I won't let you take my children," she cried, abandoning the knife and charging back to her kids. The guardian flickered momentarily, but the moment of her distraction passed. "Mommy," Noah whimpered again, his tiny voice splintering her heart. "Don't panic," Sarah whispered fiercely, determination seeping into her tone. "We're going to make it through this." But doubt gnawed at her. Their voices in the dark entangled with her, weaving through her thoughts, testing her resolve. What would she do? Could she bargain with darkness? The shadows lunged afresh, reaching for her, for them. Sarah grabbed the children, drawing them protectively into her embrace, focusing all the love she had into the moment. "We will not be afraid." Her voice filled the room, defiance swelling as her will resonated against the whipping shadows. "Mommy!" Emma's scream pierced the air as a dark arm shot out, snatching at Sarah's hand. And then in the chaos, in an instant, not a slow build, but rather a cruel jolt, her little girl was yanked out of her arms. "Emma!" Sarah shouted, rushing forward, but the darkness opened like a ravenous maw, swallowing her daughter whole, her screams replaced by silence. Noah shrieked, and in sheer panic, Sarah grabbed him tighter, heart racing, breath quickening. "We have to move." Her mind screamed at her while instinct wrestled against the crushing wave of sorrow. Where would they go? The corners of the room twisted and contorted, shadows extending and retracting like the pulses of a monstrous heartbeat, urging them closer to the threshold. "No. You're not taking my family." Sarah howled, summoning every ounce of strength left in her as she pulled Noah toward the door, the only escape she could see. Even as the guardian shrieked in retaliation, the door hung ominously before them, its wood pulsing and breathing as if alive. Everything clawed and tugged at her, but there was no turning back. They break through, or they crumble. With one last surge of adrenaline, Sarah kicked the door wide. A rush of cold night air flooded the room, a momentary oasis from the darkness looming within. As she regained her footing, a chilling realization settled in. Beyond the door lay something worse, a world waiting in the like of which they had never known, but Emma was still trapped, and that was the only truth that mattered. Would they ever be reunited? The shadows curled behind her, a threat that wasn't over yet. What horrors awaited them in the night beyond? Where would this twisted path lead them next? Her heart thundered. This was just the beginning. The door creaked open, revealing a world steeped in darkness. The chill cut deeper than any winter's night, wrapping around Sarah and Noah like a suffocating shroud. Instinctively, Sarah stepped forward, scanning the shadowy landscape that stretched into an intimidating abyss. "Mommy, where did Emma go?" Noah's voice trembled, his trust in her wavering as he glanced back into the dimly lit room they just escaped. "It's okay, buddy. We'll find her," she promised, but her words felt hollow. What kind of mother could say that when every strand of instinct told her they were running towards something unknown and terrifying? The street was empty, the houses standing silent like sentinels keeping dark secrets hidden inside. Flickering streetlights cast ghostly shapes on the pavement, shadows creating a nightmarish scene that made her heart race. Every rustle of leaves seemed amplified, a sinister whisper descending upon them. With Noah's tiny hand gripped tightly in hers, Sarah moved forward, a mix of desperation and courage propelling her onward. "Stay close. We need to find somewhere safe." As they turned a corner, a shriek and unmistakable cry that echoed through the stillness stopped her cold. Her breath caught in her throat. "Emma!" The sound was distant yet hauntingly familiar. It came from a nearby alley, a dark opening that seemed to swallow the light whole. Without thinking, she pulled Noah toward the sound. They stumbled into the alley, shadows dancing around them, as if alive, eagerly awaiting their arrival. "Mommy, I don't like this," Noah whispered, the fear in his voice stirring her own terror. "It's just a little further," she soothed. But the shadows around them shimmered with insistent malevolence, clawing at her resolve, whispering doubts into her mind. What if this was all a mistake? What if she led him to danger instead of safety? As they neared the seam of darkness at the alley's end, the shriek pierced the night again, a chilling plea that echoed off the brick walls. It was desperate, filled with longing, filled with pain. Each note twisted in Sarah's gut, harder than the last. Then, an overwhelming gust of wind slammed into her, forcing her to shield Noah from the invisible impact. The shadows thickened, pressing in from all sides, and suddenly the alley felt alive, pulsating with urgency. "Noah!" she gasped. "We have to," but before she could finish, a figure emerged from the swirling dark. It was just a silhouette at first, delicate yet powerful, like a phantom encased in twilight, shifting and melting between dimensions. "Help me," the voice was soft and sorrowful. Sarah hesitated. She could see the eyes trapped in the shadow, a reflection of terror and pleading. "Who are you?" she demanded. "It's Emma." The figure flickered, twisting in the darkness as the vibrant energy of the guardian surged around them. "No. It can't be." Panic surged within her, grasping at her mind. No, it's too dangerous." The shadows surged again as if sensing her wavering resolve. With her heart pounding and every instinct screaming to flee, she made a choice. "Noah, we're not leaving without her." The air grew heavy as they pushed deeper into the gloom. The darkness clawed at them, but Sarah was unwilling to look back, unwilling to abandon the truth behind the wailing echoes. They rushed forward, praying against all odds that the path they tread would somehow lead them back to their little girl. With each step, the figure twisted and distorted, revealing fleeting hints of the child they loved: her hair, the familiar dress, the bright, scared eyes. "Please, Mommy," and then, just as they reached out, the specter disintegrated into a cyclone of shadows, leaving only a chilling silence behind. "Emma!" Sarah screamed, her voice breaking apart as she felt the dark weight of despair begin to crush her like a vice. Noah stood frozen, eyes big, innocent, connected to that swirl of darkness. "What do we do now?" he whimpered. Sarah felt her breath come shallow and fast. She had led him into the heart of darkness, and now it was closing in on them. The world was crumbling around her, whispers flooding her mind again, claiming souls lost in the fold of shadow. What if this world offered nothing but more horrors? What if they could never reunite? The distance yawned before them, and a choice, painfully clear: would they run deeper into the chaos, or face the haunting reality that loomed behind? But before Sarah could answer, the ground beneath them trembled, a low, dark laughter rumbling from the shadows, echoing ominously, filling the alley with dread. Where would their journey lead now? And what price would they have to pay to uncover the truth? The darkness swirled around them, thick and oppressive, as if it had come alive with its own intent. The laughter grew louder, cascading off the brick walls and mixing with their contained panic. Sarah felt Noah's trembling beside her, his small form vibrating with fear. "Mommy, I want to go home." His voice was a thread of desperation, weaving between shock and terror, pulling at Sarah's heart. She turned to him, swallowing the knot rising in her throat, willing herself to focus. "We can't leave Emma," she whispered fiercely. But even as she said it, doubt seeped into her resolve. What if Emma was gone forever? What if they were walking into a trap designed to ensnare them, too? The shadows inched closer. Every damp crack of the alley seemed to pulse in time with her racing heart. She could feel something watching, lurking just beyond sight, hunting them in this abyss of despair. Noah peered up at her, his eyes brimming with tears. What if we don't find her? What if his little hand trembled in hers, a chilling thought echoing in her mind. What if she's not okay? Should she put a finger to her lips, urging him to be silent? We have to be brave. The laughter faded to a whisper, morphing into an echo of Emma's voice, beckoning them deeper. "Mommy, Noah, help me, do you hear that?" Sarah asked, her voice barely breaking through the thick silence. Noah nodded slowly, his wide eyes reflecting flickers of hope. "Is it her?" Before Sarah could respond, the shadows twisted into a flicker of movement, a dark shape blocking their way. It was the figure again, but now it was more defined, looming larger, as if it had felt their intentions and was ready to confront them head-on. "Come to me," the voice was guttural, layered with a sinister edge that sent shivers down Sarah's spine. The creature didn't look like Emma anymore, it had morphed into something monstrous, its face a grotesque mask of despair and rage. "Get back!" Sarah screamed, pulling Noah close as panic surged. The figure advanced, its hands clawing through the air, trailing the night behind it. "Noah!" She gasped, adrenaline surging through her veins. "We need to run." They turned, sprinting back the way they had come, but the darkness shifted, swirling like a predator eager to pounce. It whispered and laughed around them, mocking their attempts to escape. Each footfall sounded like thunder, echoing their mounting dread. "What if we never get out? What if we're trapped here?" Noah's voice quivered, tighter now, struggling against the rising tide of terror. "Noah!" she urged, tightening her grip on his hand as they rounded a corner. There had to be a way out. A refuge just beyond the shadows. Just hold on to me." But as they sprinted onward, the ground shook beneath them once more, the laughter returning, an entity infused with wrath and hunger. A whisper clawed at her thoughts, every instinct screamed at her to stop, to turn back. The alley pinched tighter around them, darkness writhing like a living thing. "Follow the sound," she yelled, heart pounding, knowing it was a gamble. If they found Emma, they might have a chance. If they failed, as they rounded yet another darkened corner, a flicker of light appeared ahead of them, faint but beckoning. It pulsed gently, illuminating the heavy shadows for fleeting moments. "Look, Mommy!" Noah shouted, pointing. "It's there." Tremors coursed through her as she pulled him closer. "Noah, wait!" But he sprinted ahead, eager and desperate, and suddenly the flicker grew brighter, warping the surrounding shadows. Sarah's gut twisted, something felt wrong. "Noah! Get back here!" Panic surged anew as the warmth of false hope glowed menacingly ahead. Was it leading them to safety or to something worse? Before she could reach for him, he stepped into the light. In an instant, the glow consumed him, circling like a vortex, and before Sarah could scream, darkness crashed over her again, an unyielding wave of despair swallowing all. The laughter crescendoed, echoing triumphantly. "Noah!" But the alley was silent, the light extinguished, leaving only the whispers of shadows dancing around her. What had she done? Had she lost them both in her desperate pursuit? And then, a sliver of ice coursed through the air, chilling her blood. A new voice came from the dark, deep and ancient. "You will pay the ultimate price for your foolishness." Was there no escape from this nightmare? Despair clawed at her throat as the shadows stirred anew, the weight of her choices heavy upon her heart. With a flicker of hope still alive in her chest, she could only ask herself what truth lay hidden in the dark that was ripe for revelation. What was waiting for them in that suffocating abyss? The darkness enveloped Sarah like an unwelcome shroud, lingering and heavy. She was alone, or at least the silence told her so. But the whispering shadows did not relent, sliding past her like wet fingers against her skin. Forgotten in the chaos, the echo of Noah's voice reverberated in her mind, a haunting reminder of her failure. Noah, she breathed, her heart racing as she fought back the tears threatening to spill. The weight of her choice pressed down on her, each ragged breath echoing the truth she had lost him. The darkness seemed to pulse with the heartbeat of her despair, laughing at her loss. "Turn back," the chilling voice murmured again. Its timbre sent a shiver racing down her spine, and though she felt the urge to obey, something deeper compelled her forward into the thick shadow. "You cannot control the darkness. Show yourself," she shouted, her voice shaking, both a challenge and a plea. But the silence returned, oppressive and unforgiving. With every step, the passage narrowed, as if the walls themselves were seeking to close in around her. She strained her ears, listening for any sign of her son, desperately yearning for a hint of hope. But all she could hear was the low murmur of the shadows, a cruel mockery echoing her failures. "Emma. Noah." She whispered into the void, her voice fading into the chilling gloom. Each name tasted like ash on her tongue, a reminder of the unbearable weight she carried. She had to find them, had to clench onto any shred of hope even if it felt like grasping at clouds. A flicker caught her eye, a promise of light dancing in the darkness. Her breath quickened. Surely, this time was different. She clutched her palms and sprinted toward it, heart pounding, an instinctive desire to breach the veil of despair. As she neared, the light wavered, revealing a doorway amidst the jagged alley walls. It seemed to pulse like a heartbeat, beckoning her towards the unknown. She hesitated, considering the choice at hand. Was it safety? Or simply a deeper trap, set by the shadows hungry for her hope? "Mommy!" A voice erupted from the shadows, small and frantic. It was Noah. Sarah's heart lurched. She pushed through her fear and lunged for the door, the light enveloping her in warmth for a fleeting moment. But as she crossed the threshold, the door slammed shut behind her, plunging her once again into utter darkness. Panic seized her, the warmth dissipated, leaving only the familiar chill of despair. She spun, searching for any sign of Noah. "Noah!" she cried, her voice tearing at the confines of silence. "Mommy, help me!" The voice sliced through the dark. Not from the shadows surrounding her, but from the depths of the doorway she had just passed. "Noah! I'm right here." But each time she reached for the door, the ground shifted beneath her feet, pulling her away from the light, from the sound of her son's desperate cries. "Foolish choices have consequences," the deep voice echoed again as the darkness spoke, weaving through her mind. "You must choose. What do you desire most?" Terror curled in her gut. She was being tested, forced to confront her deepest fears. "I just want my son. I don't care what I have to do." Very well. Suddenly, the shadows began to twist and swirl, forming images of her past fleeting moments, echoes of laughter, memories of light. There was Noah, innocent, beautiful, but alongside him flickered images of desperation, loss, dread. "Choose wisely," the voice whispered again, and swiftly, visions peeled away as if erased by an unseen hand. In that moment, Sarah knew. She had to find Noah, but at what cost? Would she sacrifice her own safety for his life? What truths lay entwined in this nightmare? The darkness pressed in again, heavy and suffocating, as the door flickered ominously, teasing hope and despair in equal measure. What awaited Sarah on the other side? How far would she go to reclaim what she had lost? Knowing only one thing, she stepped toward the choice that lay ahead, her heart pounding with an urgent fear, pregnant with uncertainty, and then, everything dimmed as the voice boomed, "It has begun." The darkness thickened around Sarah, wrapping her in an oppressive embrace that felt alive, its cold tendrils reaching out to her. The voice echoed again, reverberating through her mind, a twisted puppet master pulling at her heartstrings. Make your choice. The air crackled with tension as shadows stretched and contorted, morphing into grotesque faces that bore witness to her guilt and pain. Each passing moment felt like a lifetime, the weight of her decision pressing down, suffocating her, but she couldn't falter. Not now. I choose my son. I choose to bring him back. The shadows recoiled, swirling violently around her like a tornado of despair. So be it, the voice hissed, dripping with malice. But know this, every action has a price. Before Sarah could respond, the darkness collapsed in on itself, pulling her down into a whirlpool of blackness that swallowed her screams. When she landed, it was with a crash against a cold, hard surface. She blinked, heart racing as she looked around. Light flickered overhead, bare, naked bulbs casting a sickly glow in a dimly lit room. The walls appeared to pulse, stained with shadows that danced as if alive. The stench of decay clung to the air, clawing at her throat, the raw reminder of desperation and defeat. Noah! She shouted, desperation clawing at her voice. Panic shot through her as she scrambled to her feet, searching for any sign of her boy amidst the debris scattered across the floor. She turned, each rustle echoing like thunder in her ears, and found herself facing a shattered mirror. Her reflection stared back, hollow cheeks, sunken eyes. She looked like a ghost of herself, a mere vessel haunted by loss. Behind her, a movement caught her eye. Mommy? She spun, hope igniting within her like a flame, but the shadows loomed closer, morphing into cruel forms that whispered her fears. You're too late, you'll never find him, shut up. She yelled, her anger bubbling to the surface. She stumbled forward, the mirror's shards glinting like jagged teeth. I'll find him. I promise. Racing through the room, she felt a pull towards a door at the far end. It crackled with energy, the wood vibrating as if it were alive. She reached for it, knowing it might lead her somewhere, anywhere, but before her fingers could grasp the handle, the mirrors exploded behind her, raining shards across the floor. Noah! The room pulsed, the shadows narrowing into dark figures that reached out with elongated arms, grasping at her, pulling her back. She fought against the tide of despair, but they multiplied, voices rising in a cacophony of taunts. Why do you keep trying? You failed him. Each word cut into her like glass, deeper into her soul. But amidst the chaos, a single thought buoyed her spirit: Noah needed her. She couldn't let this darkness take him too. Ignoring the despair, she gathered her resolve, pushing past the shadows as they clawed at her arms. She barreled through, finally yanking the door open and stumbling into a blinding light, but the brightness was deceiving. As she stepped through, it revealed a barren wasteland, twisted and scorched. Visions of what could have been flashed before her, what life with Noah should have looked like. There, in the distance, she spotted him. Tiny and distant, calling to her, his voice woven with despair. Mommy! Don't leave me! Please! Her heart shattered like glass as she sprinted towards him, fear and love driving her forward. But with each desperate leap, the land shifted beneath her feet, a vast chasm opening up, threatening to consume everything. Come back! The shadows snarled, mocking her, each step thwarted by the weight of her choices. Sarah gasped, her breath stolen as her resolve wavered. You won't take him from me. I won't let you. With an unyielding push, she dove forward just as the ground started to crumble. But instead of reaching Noah, the world around her began to twist, blurring like a mirage. In that instant, she realized the truth, the hidden horror of her choice. Sarah, the voice lingered, thick with dark promises and betrayal. You've only just begun to understand. As the shadows wrapped around her again, she clung to the vision of Noah, clarity dawning. What price must she pay to save him? Would she discover the dark secret lying beneath this torment? The journey was far from over, and deep within her heart, she knew there was more to uncover. As Sarah grappled with the chilling realization of her choices, the landscape twisted and contorted around her, warping into an amalgamation of her memories and nightmares. Each step toward Noah felt like running against a fierce current, pulling her back into despair. But she could not falter. "Mommy, please." Noah's tiny voice echoed through the chaos, a siren song that ignited every ounce of determination buried within her. "I'm coming, baby," she shouted, her voice a hoarse rasp that cut through the darkness. A flicker of fire sparked in her heart, hope mingled with dread as she plunged into the shifting void again. Every shadow whispered her failures, hurling accusations that sank deep into her soul, but she pushed against them. "I won't give up. I will find you, Noah." Each word clawed its way out, infused with a desperate strength that felt foreign yet familiar. Ahead, a shimmer of light beckoned, promising warmth and safety. As she lunged forward, the ground trembled, fissures crawling through the earth beneath her. "No!" she screamed, spotting a dark void threatening to swallow her entire existence once more. "Mommy!" Noah cried, his voice straining against the tumult, pulling at her insides. The shadows hissed, contempt dripping from their whispers. "You'll never reach him." But she was done succumbing. Gritting her teeth, she surged forward into the light, fueled by unwavering love and the weight of their shared pain. With one desperate leap, she crossed the threshold into brightness, feeling the oppressive air lift, her heart racing in sync with her thoughts. The world shifted, colors emerging in a vibrant palette she hadn't realized she had missed. And there, in the luminous glow, stood Noah. Oh, the sight of him sent a cascade of relief through her, his small frame, bright eyes filled with tears. "Mommy!" he erupted, rushing into her arms. The warmth wrapped around her like a soft blanket, shattering the gloom that had held her captive for so long. "Let us get out of here!" she exclaimed, holding him tightly. But as she turned, the darkness twisted, writhing around the shimmer like a predator. "Not so fast," the echoing voice snarled, swelling with rage and anguish. "You think you can escape the price of your choices?" An unseen force slammed into Sarah, pushing them back. She felt Noah's grip tighten around her waist as she staggered. "Stay close," she gasped, adrenaline shooting through her veins, a fire igniting against the crushing shadows. Realization dawned. The guardian was not just a harbinger of their fear. It was tangled with their lives, summoning forth every regret and sorrow, feeding off their emotions. But with courage coursing through her, she shouted, "You don't own us. You won't take my son." The shadows hesitated, pausing as though her words pierced through their dark veil of control. The air crackled around them, urging her onward. "Noah, together, we can break free. Feel the light. It's with us." Channeling everything, the love for her children, the fierce will to protect them, she reached high above her head, toward the flickering light above them. "You're not lost. We're together, and we will win." The shadows recoiled, the guardian's form flickering like a candle in the wind, struggling against the warmth emanating from Sarah and Noah. "No!" the voice bellowed, filling every crevice with despair. "You are not meant to be free. You exist to serve the darkness." With a scream that echoed through the void, Sarah let go of her fears and doubts. She focused on the light, weaving through every ounce of love she felt for her children, every moment shared. The shadows writhed around her, vibrating with rage, yet bathed in a flickering glow. She could feel the darkness shrinking, and then it happened. The light exploded outward, illuminating every corner of the landscape, washing away the grip of despair. A flood of energy surged forth, light ripping through the shadows like dawn breaking through a long night. "Noah!" she shouted, gripping his hands tightly as they were swept up in a wave of brilliance. All at once, the whispers faded, swallowed by the glow that pulsed with their united strength. "What is happening, Mommy?" Noah gazed up, awe spilling over his features as the shadow realm crumbled around them. "We're escaping. Just stay with me," she shouted, pulling him closer as the remnants of darkness evaporated into the air, transformed back into the fleeting memories that fueled the guardian's anger. As the light enveloped them, they fell into another realm. Soft, lush grass stretched beneath them, swirling colors swirled like prayers across the sky. They were back. We made it. Her heart soared with relief and joy, as she squeezed Noah tighter. Mommy. You're here. He laughed, realization dawned like a sunrise. Noah, we did it. We're together, she gasped, dazed. The burden dissipated, and for the first time in what felt like eternity, the shackles of fear broke away. But as she looked around, the warmth wrapped around them like a warm hug, remnants of the shadows flickered at the edge of her vision. The guardian was still lurking, but their courage and love had diminished its hold. I will always protect you, my love, Sarah whispered, her heart pounding, knowing this battle had only begun. The darkness may creep back, but now, armed with their unyielding bond, they would face whatever lay ahead together. With a deep breath, they stood hand in hand, eyes illuminated with hope and determination, ready to confront the world and the shadows still lurking. And as Sarah felt the warmth pulse through her fingers entwined with Noah's, she knew one thing for certain: no darkness could ever conquer the light they carried within. Now, don't just stand there. You need to subscribe now to catch the next thrilling exclusive stories we have in store. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Your support is crucial to keep these stories alive. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this ending. I want to hear from every one of you. And don't just keep this magic to yourself, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. Your true fan support is what makes all the difference.